Hey y'all, my name is Taylor. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in March. So unfortunately, I don't have quite a variety to talk about. I have 4 books. 3 of them were part of the same series and then just one other book. So I think this will be a fairly short video, but then my famous last words and I get rambly, so we'll see. But without further ado, the first book I read was Recorder by Kathy McCrum. And I read this as part of Tammy's book club. She's from the Protagonist Pub, that's her channel. So her book club, and I had actually been wanting to read it for quite a while. I'd heard Sam from the Book Bunch, Celestria, and Tammy herself rave about this book for practically a year. And I'm a sci-fi girl as far as like TVs and movies. That's my jam. I love those types of movies, but I haven't really picked up much sci-fi books, particularly Christian sci-fi. I think that's a pretty small amount. If y'all know of some that are really good, let me know for sure. But I wanted to give my shot at reading sci-fi. So this is described as sci-fi with heart. So yes, it is in kind of a futuristic setting. There's lots of technology and stuff like that. It's in space. But it doesn't have like a lot of the jargon where you're kind of just confused the whole time if that's not your jam. So yeah, this is kind of, the setting is unique as far as like space, but it is more character driven and more plot driven than talking about sciencey stuff. So this is about Recorder, and in this futuristic human society, there is a population of people that their role is to record things, which is why they're called recorders. And in order to do that, in order to have the record be as neutral, unbiased, and accurate as possible, these people have neural implants to repress their emotions, and they have drones that help them collect data and give them information and present this record as helpful to people, to the human population. So this story is about Recorder, and all I'm going to say is her journey into humanity, and I'll leave it there because I feel like this is one story where you need the bare bones as few as possible to just let your experience happen as you read it, because it is quite wonderful. But I rated this 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It's my favorite book of 2024 so far. I gave it a clean Christian faith rating of 1 out of 3. So it is Christian, explicitly Christian. You do know that's the type of religion they're talking about. They're talking about God and all that. But it is pretty light. There's just a few sprinklings here and there, and as the series progresses, it gets a little bit more, and then it has a build up at book 3. So I would describe it as light everyday faith. But yeah, Kathy does an extraordinary job of throwing the reader into a scene and making them feel like they're experiencing it. You are on the edge of your seat during the action scenes, and there's quite a few towards the beginning. You feel for Recorder, you feel through her struggles and her emotions and what she's going through. I mean, the sense of dread that I felt at certain parts in this book, like, oh, what's going to happen? I think it takes real talent for an author to get someone, the reader, to feel like that. It is a story of humanity. The side characters, there's an excellent cast of side characters, and they're all very well defined and developed. You get flashbacks to kind of help you learn the side characters more. And I did not find those jarring at all. They just really help develop the story and the characters. So, yeah. The only caveat I'll say to this is you gotta have book 2 as soon as you finish book 1, because this series is a continuation of a story, and part 1 ends in a cliffhanger, and you just gotta know. So I picked up book 2, which is Aberration, and I just love the blues and purples in this cover. Aren't they gorgeous? So I rated this one 4.5 stars. 1 out of 3 Christian faith rating. And the reason why I gave it 4.5 is the first 50 pages was a little hard for my brain to wrap around. I was kind of feeling like I was having trouble keeping up because you get introduced to a new setting, a new set of characters, and a new problem. And so it was a lot for my brain to kind of process all at once. But once I got it, once those 50 pages were over and I got into the story, we took off. And it was just an amazing experience again. She delivered with the development of all the characters and the storyline and the plot and the intricacies and all that. So it was an excellent time for that one as well. And then so book 3 I don't own yet. I'm waiting for it to come out on paperback, but I listened to it and I read to it on ebook on Hoopla. So yay, Hoopla for the win. So it was an epic conclusion to a very great series. I rated it 4.5 stars, 1 out of 3 Christian faith rating, and it was great. I loved it. I especially loved the conclusion to a certain part of the book. It's so hard saying reviews without spoiling things. But there were a few things that I felt kind of, well, there's one part where Recorder said something and then later on it turns out was something, she made a different decision. So I don't know, I felt like it was a little misleading or conflicting on what she had said previously. And then some things were kind of left up in the air. And I know that leaves it open to potentially other stories in the future, but there's been nothing announced yet. But so for me, if I knew there was going to be another book, I'd be totally fine with it. But it's kind of up in the air, like if that's actually going to happen. And I have problems with lack of finality. So that's just a total personal preference thing. It did end, wrap up a bunch of things where it was fine. I wasn't totally bothered by it, but there were some things I wish I would have had a little bit more finality, but that was just my experience. So overall, it is an excellent series. Highly, highly recommend. I will join the ranks of people who sing its praises because it is absolutely a favorite of all time series now. So, yep, that is the Children of the Consortium series. All right, next book I read. I didn't read this whole thing, but see, it's a bit of a chunker. So I didn't read the whole thing, but this is Sherlock Holmes. So specifically, I read The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And Stacy, if you're wondering with Stacy, will be so proud of me because Sherlock is her absolute favorite character, I think. She loves Sherlock. She dresses up like Sherlock and she looks so cute, but I loved it. Rated it 5 stars. I was truly surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I have seen some film adaptations. I think I've seen The Hound of the Baskervilles, like a modern version maybe. Not with, well, I have seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one, but I think there was another one like in the 80s. I couldn't find it when I tried to Google it, but yes. So it is, Sherlock is hired on by this doctor who brings the story of a man who died under mysterious circumstances, and people think he died because of this legend that a hound is killing off his family, and he is the latest victim of this hound. So Sherlock is like, I'm of the opinion that, that's a supernatural thing that's not actually happening, so he's gonna investigate it. He is the bottom of it. So, it was a great atmospheric read, so I highly recommend you read this during like October, November, which is when this is set, and it's set like in the moors, and there's descriptions of like fogginess and like darkness and spookiness and just dreary. It was perfect for fall. There were some plot twists, I'll say, that kind of surprised me, and I really enjoyed it. Just the whole experience was just phenomenal, and I can't wait to read more Sherlock because I'm sold. If all of them are like this, I'm a Sherlock fan for sure. I'm going to be reading more later on, hopefully this year. So we'll see. But yeah, so those are the books I read. I did want to mention real quick what I fulfilled for the reading challenges. So for Oshina's Romance Reading Challenge, I used Recorder for different genre because I haven't read a sci-fi in a year, I think. So I don't typically read that. So I used that one for that prompt. And then Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. I've been doing the Doyle track, but I had to go back to January because I didn't quite fit that in January nor February. So I finally got it. So the prompt is Hound of the Baskervilles. Read a book with a dog on the cover. So I'm just going to use the Hound of the Baskervilles for this one. How fitting. And then, oh, I forgot to talk about my DNF. Oh, oops. Okay, so this reminded me. So for March, the prompt was read a book with more than 2 POVs. And this was pretty hard to find. And so I saw Alma on Alma's book journey. She was going to read And Then We're None by Agatha Christie. And I was like, that's great. You know, it fits the more than 2 POV prompt. I've never read Agatha Christie. It's a mystery. I was already reading Sherlock, you know, March Mystery Madness. Can loosely participate in that. So I started buddy reading it with her, and I, you know, Agatha Christie is, you know, a very popular author. I've watched Poirot shows and things, and I know of her talent. So as I was reading it, I knew it was secular, so I wasn't expecting anything like totally clean, or totally kosher with Christianity or anything. But as I was reading it, there were plentiful versions of the D word, and I was like, I can't. There was at least 10 versions by like 20%, and then the straw that broke the camel's back was a misuse of God's name. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was so intrigued by the story. I was like, I want to know what happens, but I took a day or two. I think it was 2 days. I was like really thinking about it because I didn't want to let Alma down either because she'd already finished it. And I was like, But yeah, I was like, I can't do it. This, for me, I couldn't do it. So yeah, I always forget to talk about DNFs, but there you go. That was my one DNF for March. And then, so I learned that Chantel said that you can use DNFs for your challenge. So I'm back on track, y'all. I'm at April when I'm supposed to be in April. So I was so excited. It's like, yay, that's one less book I have to try and find because I was really struggling with the POV. I found one, and then I'm like, okay, I don't have to feel pressured to read it if I don't want to. So anyways, Jane Reads has her Christian Fiction Challenge. I also used Recorder for that one too because it's the prompt is set in a place you want to visit. And if I was assured that I would survive it, it wouldn't be too expensive. I would like to visit space. Like, I think that would be pretty cool to see, you know, another planet or even just Earth from space. I think that would be a fantastic experience, but I doubt that will ever happen. So, you know, this is just purely imaginative right now. But, and then Katie's Read Around the World-a-thon. I also use Recorder for that one too because it is for a character you would bring on a trip. And I feel like Recorder, she's just pure. Like, she's so, trusting, not trusting exactly, but she's very innocent, and like I just want to take her under my wing and be friends with her, and the way she describes things, and I found her funny in some cases, so I just want to be her friend. And yeah, so those are all the challenges for March. And I used Recorder a lot, so that it worked out great. So let me know what y'all read in March, and or if you've read Recorder, the series, or even The Hound of the Baskervilles. I'd love to talk about books with y'all. So let me know all the things, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.